Hey ladies, so I decided to come back and I'm gonna do a response video, sorta, to Ben's video on how radical feminism created the men's rights movement. He said he welcomes video responses, but he wants you to tackle two questions, and not, if I was gonna do one, I wasn't gonna respond to those. I was gonna state something totally separate. And what I was gonna say is this. It was going to be about radical feminism and how, for one, I think radical feminists are extremely brave. I think they're brave because they have such strong ideals and how they're not moved. They're not moved by mainstream, and they're not moved by the opinions of their peers, because, as I've always said, all feminists are not the same. We all feel differently, and our strengths are very different, you know, like Diana Boston and me and Ben and all these other people. We all feel very differently on certain things. So I think it's really brave to say, this is how I feel. Yes, it's a bit extreme, but I won't be moved regardless of what my peers think or what society thinks. And, you know, that's why they say a lot of radical feminists are lesbians, because they're like, how can you be with the oppressor? You know, how can you have a relationship with the man and, you know, men of the oppressor or whatnot? So, for me, and a lot of people say, you know, you have a real down-to-earth approach to feminism, because I think, and this is what people will use to combat radical feminism, is radical feminism is up here, and it's so extreme, and it's sometimes it's not relatable to regular women, like everyday working class. I gotta work, I gotta deal with men in my everyday life, you know, I gotta be daddy, you know, issues like that. So when they can be so extreme as far as separatism, women can't relate to that. But when you can bring it down a couple of notches and say, you know, I just want to explain to you the institution of how you're being oppressed, and give you some ways and ideas to combat that, so that you can still be aware of the institution but still function within it. And that gives you power, you know. And it's really about empowering women through knowledge, through communication, through community, through, you know, all sorts of things, you know, things that's how we communicate. I think that's really what feminism is about. It's about empowering women and making them conscious of this institution. And I think sometimes radical feminists can't reach women on that level, because they can be a bit extreme, and women are like, I can't relate to that. Like, I understand you, I feel you, but like, how I can't function like that. I still have to go to work, I still have to deal with men in my everyday life, and I still have to, you know, be able to function in mainstream society. But with that being said, on the flip side of that, you know, you flip it all the way over, it's still like, I love radical feminists because they are so strong, and they keep those who are a little bit more moderate, like myself, they keep us constantly aware of the bullshit in the institution, and just the stuff that maybe we just might get blinded to because we're still trying to function in it. And they're like, oh no, hold the fuck up. Don't forget this, and this. Okay, this is what we fight against. This is what we need to make other women aware of. This is what we're doing. Don't forget. And that is why I love radical feminists. But at the same time, there can only be a few. There can only be some. And I think it's up to us as a whole community to be able to get to women on just a regular, everyday level, and just be able to approach them and to talk to them, so that they will understand that, yes, you are in an oppressed system, and this is how it's working, and this is what we can do as male and female feminists to work in that institution, to work against it, but, you know, still be able to function, because change doesn't come in one day. So this is sort of my video response. I don't know if he'll accept it, but this is for you guys. Let me know what you think about radical feminism. Oh, and in relation to the men's rights movement, I think that's some bullshit. Yeah, there have been quotes for a long time that radical feminists have said about men, and not all women agree. Like, if you read the comments on his video, they're like, well, you know, I see men as oppressors, but I don't see all men that way. And, you know, some women may feel that, well, all men somewhere is internally oppressing women, and some will see it just as a few. So, yeah. But as far as the men's right, I think it's just some bull. And they love to use it. Well, look at this feminist. Like, she's one woman. She doesn't speak for me. She doesn't speak for the next 50 people. She speaks for that for herself and maybe a group of people who believe in her ideology. But she doesn't speak for me. So that's where, you know, of course, feminists on YouTube, we understand that generalization. You know, they take one little phrase and they start running with it. But for me, the men's rights movement, there's a guy, Heavenly Truth. He did a video about the issues that men have in the men's rights movement, which for me was really clear because there was no one out there who was discussing, like, what specifically are the issues. All I kept hearing is feminism is the problem. We need to abolish it. All you women are crazy. And there were a few things that I thought were really interesting that maybe needed to be discussed. Do I feel like men are oppressed? No. But there were a couple of issues about men's shelters and single father shelters and rights of single fathers and things like that that I feel like should be addressed. And how politicians are really taking some of men's rights very seriously. There were a few things that he said that I was like, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe that is something that we as a community of people need to discuss. But I think a lot of it's just bull. They see that women are starting to push ahead, that we feel empowered, that we have formed a sense of community among us, and they're like, oh shit, look at they spring it ahead. Now we are being oppressed. We need to have a movement. Oh my goodness, like I think most of it's just bull, frankly. But there are a couple of issues that I think could be discussed, and that maybe we could have a dialogue on. Maybe I'll get to that later. So yeah, that's really it. I hope this video, you know, provokes some thought. I hope it provokes some comments. And I will talk to you guys really soon. I love you and I miss you. And I will be answering those questions from the video really, really soon. And talk to you later. Bye.